If you're not a main follower of my program, you better become one. Because over here, you're going to learn about one thing only: primary sources. I love primary sources. Let's do that when it comes to Trump, Biden, the NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and this Texas flood. Let's start with President Joe Biden. Trump tried to blame Biden. Sort of. Listen.
Are you investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or the emergency coordination?
No, they did not.
They did. I'll tell you, you look at that, what a situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup, but I wouldn't blame Biden for it either.
This ain't got shit to do with President Joe Biden, so let's X him out. It has everything to do with these two fools here. For me to prove that, I gotta go to, you guessed it, Project 2025. Chapter 21 talks about the Department of Commerce, and you gotta go all the way down to page 674, and what do you see there? National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. What does it say? Break up the NOAA. Let's just sit in that for a moment. They blame everything that's involved with the NOAA on climate change and the Green New Deal and liberalism, and they want to break it up. Together, these form a colossal operation that has become one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry and, as such, is harmful to future U.S. prosperity. They assume that the OAR that is under the NOAA and gives us our weather forecasting is liberal and should not be used. Downsize the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research. The OAR provides theoretical science as opposed to the applied science of the National Hurricane Center. OAR is, however, the source of much of NOAA's climate alarmism. The preponderance of its climate change research should be disbanded. These operations should be reviewed with an aim of consolidation and reduction of bloat. So when Project 2025 was published, everybody was out there talking about it, to include yours truly. And just days before the election, September 29th to be exact, PBS published this article in 2024. And nobody listened. They still voted for Trump. And once Trump got into office, he, Elon Musk, and Steve Lutnick, the guy that I showed you earlier, they did this.
Meantime, the government's climate and weather agency NOAA is laying off 5% of its staff. Now, that's about 600 positions. The agency's most prominent branches include the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center.
And once they successfully gutted the NOAA, we get a devastating flood in Texas that's wiping out homes, wiping out families, destroying communities, and just hurting everyone involved. Now, let's go back, because there was something you missed in that statement when Donald Trump was blaming Joe Biden. You missed Steve Lutnick and his answer.
Are you investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or the emergency coordination?
No, they did not.
They did.
Did you see him shaking his head before she even finished asking the question? And then he said, no, it's not, and looked at Trump, hoping that Trump would agree with his answer prior to Trump speaking. That's because he runs the NOAA under the Department of Commerce, and it was he, along with Trump and Musk, that fired those people that helped cause the lack of warning for that town. So when you hear news like this,
32 people confirmed dead, among them 14 children, all due to the devastating flooding.
don't blame the flood, don't blame Joe Biden. Blame Donald Trump, Doge, Steve Lutnick, Elon Musk, and Project 2025. What do you think?